You guys did amazing. You guys did amazing with your participation. Please keep up the good work with it in regards to that. I think we only had 3 people that weren't able to finish their attendance. So you guys did an amazing job. Nathaniel, did you finally get in? I see you were having some issues there. Thank you. Thank you. I was so nervous. I kept hitting admit, but everyone was getting in, but you. I'm glad it worked out. All right. So let me just admit the rest of these people, guys. All right. Alyssa, do you have a question? Or you just, it's a mistake? All right. So please remember, okay, to do your online pledge. Most of you guys know that if you don't do your online pledge, you cannot even do the rest of your work. If you've done your attendance question, that means most of us have done online pledge. But if there are 1 or 2 people that are here that weren't here yesterday and you did not watch the video, please make sure you're watching the videos, guys. You're going to get lost if you don't at least watch the videos. You don't have to show up for the live session. I suggest that you do. I've never had a person not make an A or a B in this class if they didn't come to the live session. That doesn't mean that people that don't come don't get A's or B's. I'm telling you, it is all about you understanding what you should be doing. And that is going to be key in this class. Your assignments are not hard assignments, but you have them every day. And, I think we can all agree that it doesn't matter how hard something is. If you let it pile up, it's still going to be hard to get done, right? So keep up the good work with that, and you guys will do just fine. So we are in chapter 1 today, and chapter 1 is going to talk about career preparation. Yesterday, we said that this class is about helping you to plan out your career. Not that you're going to be doing really heavy lifting and planning out your career in this course, but you will be creating an outline at minimum. So that's what your career plan will be, an outline that you will use. I promise you, once you're done and you see what we're doing, you're going to use this plan. You're going to use this outline, and you're going to continue to change it as you go through your career. But it is essential in building your career. If you want to be successful, it is essential. There's a saying that says, if you fail the plan, then you're planning to fail. Not that you will, but if you don't plan at all, what's the likelihood that you're going to get to where you're trying to go, right? So we are going to be talking about planning in chapter 1. Part of that is taking a self-assessment on where you are, who you are, what are your skill sets, what skill sets are transferable, and then deciding from that information, how do I set my goals and what do they consist of? And we're going to talk about this concept of SMART goals and how you're going to use that to evaluate yourself as you move through your career. I always like to talk about career planning versus financial planning. And I want you just to keep this in the back of your mind, because a lot of people talk a lot about how they want to live, but they don't ever associate their career strategy, if you will, with their financial plan. So if I say that I want to be independently wealthy, but I'm a teacher, most of us will say, well, ma'am, respectively, if you want to be independently wealthy, I'm not sure if teaching is going to get you there unless, right? So unless you decide to write books and start your own school and, do something that's going to create that financial plan, that desire that you want. So always keep in the back of your mind, what type of financial, platform, I guess, do I want to have, i.e., do I want to have middle class, high class, wealthy? What kind of style do I want to live in? And then am I making career decisions to support that, right? I always like to talk about that. Even when I taught finance and, business at the master's level, I always tell people, always think about your financial plan and making sure it coincides with what you're doing in your career, right? So with that in mind, our career plans, they are going to vary from person to person. all of you are sitting in this class, but that doesn't mean that you all have the same career goals, right? There is a major difference between having a job, most of us have had jobs, and a career, because a career is all about progression, is all about working your way up to something, and you're doing that along your career path. There's different pathways that we'll get into because everybody doesn't take the same road. I encourage you to do some research, which is going to be important when you're trying to figure out what are my career goals. You just don't wake up and say, you know what, I got the plan. I don't need to do any research. I don't need to talk to anybody. You don't even know what's going on in your industry if you don't do research. If you're in welding or HVAC or VA, you need to know what's happening in your industry, what's happening in Florida, what's happening in the Southeast region, what's happening nationally. Is there anything happening globally? How has technology affected your industry? Is your industry being multidisciplinary, meaning that, is the electrical industry crossing over with automation? What's happening with that? Do you know, like, what is the trend for your industry? Is it growing? Is it stagnant? Is it being replaced, or things being obsolete? Like, you need to understand that. There are a couple of websites that you can go to try to glean some of that information. The U.S. Department of Labor is one, and the Occupational Informational Network is another. Of course, nowadays with Copilot and all these other AI systems, you can Google a lot of that stuff, or you use AI to get a sense of what's happening in your industry. So then you can then decide, okay, what makes more sense? And I'll use myself as an example because I pivot a lot in my career. The only thing I've ever done in my career consistently is teach. Like, right out of the military, I went into finance. I first started out in nonprofit finance and then went over to investment finance, banking finance. While I was then I went to teaching finance. I started teaching finance back in 2000. I don't even know, 7, something like that, right? And I noticed with my finance that it was starting to change because software was kind of taking over a lot of things that we were doing, right? Way back in the day, we were using Excel for everything, but then they started having all these different applications that you can use, and they were doing all the computations. Then they started doing dashboards and business intelligence. You guys may have heard of it, like Power BI and stuff like that. And it started really, shifting how finance people work. I actually got out of it for a while, and I came back and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to know technology. So I had to, and then of course, when the internet came, was starting to pick up, people started, having concerns in the financial industry, but in other industries as well, with data. And because my background was data intensive, because I went into development, I had a lot of data I would have to deal with. I saw an opportunity for me to pivot into technology, because technology was kind of taking over my field, right? Like, if you didn't have some type of experience with technology, you're just going to make yourself obsolete. So I had to, and lucky for me, when I started teaching business and IT, which also helped me to pivot, and I'm still pivoting, to be honest with you, completely into IT. I had to teach it, because as I was moving up in my career in teaching, I was becoming like a business supervisor, educator at different schools, associate dean over the business and IT, and criminal justice departments. So imagine. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to learn this stuff. So I had to learn it. I had to go to school just to be able to write curriculum and teach it and be over, professors that had IT backgrounds. And so I was like, let me take my, back to school so that I can learn and then decide how I want to utilize it. I wish I would have stayed. My very first degree was supposed to be in computer science, but I switched it because I just didn't understand how critical it was going to be. And I started back in the day, we were taking apart desktop computers. It was just too boring for me. I was so dumb. I should have stayed. But having to pivot back into it, after 2, 3 decades of being in something totally different, and now, having to catch up. But I still had to learn. I did that because of the research that I did. And I saw like, oh my goodness, I need to pivot into data because I dealt with data. I need to pivot into, understanding coding and software. And even though now there, AI has kind of diminished some of that, but I had to pivot into AI. And so, and it was all because of me keeping in abreast to what was happening in the market and doing my research. So you may have to pivot. It's so important for you to do that, but you want to do it in a way that you can, combine your skills, So I had to do research on, how can I combine finance, IT, and legal, really, because I went back to school to do law, right? So I'll be graduating next year with an executive JD, specifically because I'm moving into this AI, IT, security space. And if anybody's ever watched TV, y'all know that's hot right now, right? So even me, I've had to pivot. And some people can even call it pivot. You can call it expanding, whatever you need to do. But it's specifically because I've been paying attention to what was happening in my industry. So it's going to be important. So yes, you do need a plan. But guess what? You write it, you change it. They say when you do your career plans, you make them, every 5 years, and then the next 5 years and next 5 years, because once you get into year 4, you may have to make some adjustments with the next 5 years. Maybe something happened in your industry that may cause you to shift. But be mindful of this, though. Does that mean that your long-term goals should change? Not necessarily. Because when you do your career plan, and we're going to teach you that you need to have some long-term goals, but those long-term goals can be the first 5 years. So, what we're going to ask you to do in this class is to think about, okay, your first 2 long-term goals that you can accomplish within these first 5 years, right? And those first 2 long-term goals, maybe they can be part of an even larger goal. Let's say you want to be a master electrician and own your own business, which are technically 2 goals, right? Maybe you can or can't, I think any electricians here, any electrical people, before I put my foot in my mouth. But I would say that it's going to take you longer than 5 years to be a master electrician. Okay, I see one. And own your own business. Would you agree? It may take longer than 5 years, but you can say, okay, let me plan what I'm going to do in these first 5 years. And then in the next 5 years, maybe by year 6, I can become a master electrician. And then by year 8, I can own my own business. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's say you make your plan for the first 5 years, to become a master electrician, and you're going to focus on that first. But as things change fast, right? Let's say you get to year 4 and something shifts. Something shifts in your industry. We know things shift in our homes and personal lives as well. You may have to pivot, right? Does that mean that you still can't become a master electrician? No. Does that mean you still can't own your own business? No. But there are some things, good and bad, maybe things you can take advantage of, maybe things that you have to pivot away from. So yes, it does change, but that doesn't mean that you should not have a plan, because when you are planning for something, you're not going to waste those 5 years, right? Yeah, you could be working, but if you're not working towards something and then you decide to figure it out in year 4, those 4 years that you just didn't take advantage of to get you to the next step. I like to tell people all the time, you are never living in the present. You are never living in the present. Why? Because where you are today is a direct reflection of the decisions you made yesterday. And where you are going to be tomorrow is directly related to the decisions you make today. So what do you mean I'm not living in the present? Your current situation is what? A result of your decisions yesterday, and your future is going to be a reflection of what you do today. So technically you're living in the past, but you're working towards the future. Does that make sense? And you have to take stock of that. So you have to say, okay, maybe you're happy with where your current status. But if you want your current status to change, you have to do something today to make it change tomorrow. When I went to the doctor, my doctor told me, ma'am, let me tell you something. I was embarrassed because I had gained so much weight. I was being just lazy. And I'm going to tell you, part of it came from working from home. I started fully working from home about 2 years ago, if that. And, I got the treadmill. I lied to myself. I did. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do all this stuff. Didn't do any of it, right? Oh, I'm going to start being more healthy, going to the doctor, didn't do any of that stuff. And when I finally decided to go to the doctor, she was like, you trying to kill yourself? I'm like, what? Clutching my pearls. No, I haven't done anything I'm supposed to do. And listen, that was the wake-up call that I needed, because I knew that my decisions were being poor. So of course, I went and I do what I was supposed to do. Started eating right, exercising every day, and doing what I'm supposed to do, so that tomorrow it will be a reflection of the decisions I made today. So you have to think in those terms when you're talking about your plan. Now, some of us may say, well, Ms. Taylor, I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up. Well, that's what assessments are about, really taking stock of before you decide, oh, do I want to own my own business? Maybe you don't feel like you have the skills to own your own business, so we're going to have you take what's called a self-assessment today. So it can, it's like a personality test, and it'll talk to you about what you are good at and what your personal personality and things like that, with all of those things come together will help you be good at, right? And we're going to talk also about how these skills are going to be very critical when you do start your career and start looking for jobs. And then finally, we're going to talk about how to craft these goals. So let's start with the long-term goal. What is a long-term goal? Like I said before, is that what are you going to do, let's say, in the first 5 years? Now, how do you then make it happen? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. Just saying you want to do something is not a plan. Right? Say, I want to become a master electrician and own my own business. I technically still haven't made a goal. That's an aspiration. How do I make it into a true goal? That's when I have to make it SMART. And we'll talk about what the acronym of SMART means. Some of you may already know what that acronym is, right? But essentially, I need to put a time stamp on that long-term goal. I need to make it into a formal goal. And then once I make it into a goal, something that I can measure myself on, then I can think about the incremental steps I'm going to take within those 5 years. It doesn't have to be 5 steps because it's 5 years. It can be 3 steps. It can be 2 steps. Those are called short-term goals or action items that you are going to employ to get you to that goal. Does that make sense? So if you want to then first say, okay, well, yes, Ms. Taylor, I think I want to own my own business, or maybe I want to become a veterinarian, or maybe I want to do a pet mobile clinic, or maybe I want to work in the science lab in the VA, or maybe I want to be, maybe, but I'm not sure. That's why it's good to do these self-assessments, because it helps you to measure who you are as a person, right? What is your aptitude? What are your abilities? What are your personality? Is that important? Absolutely, you better bet it's important. Why am I good? I think I'm decent teaching is because I know myself. I love to read, I love to be by myself, and I love to help other people do the same. That's me. I didn't know that was me at 20. I thought I was going to be a doctor. So when I was in the Army, and I'll never forget it, I was in South Korea, but I was very, very aggressive. I was a nerd my whole life. So even as soon as I went to the military, as soon as I got out of boot camp and basic training and got to my first duty station, within 2 months, I was in college because I already knew that I was going to go to school and I was going to do other stuff. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to do it at the top. So when I got shipped to South Korea, I thought I was going to be a doctor. So of course I went to my commander and they know, oh, here she comes. Old nerdy Taylor wanted something. I'm like, can I volunteer at the hospital? Because I want to be a doctor. And they're like, okay, Private Taylor, go volunteer at the hospital. Let me tell you how long that lasted. Man, oh my God, I couldn't take it, y'all. And I thought I could because my brother was in the, he was in the Navy. Then he went to work at the hospital. He's been doing it for almost 30 years. I'm like, yeah, my mom was a nurse. So I'm definitely thinking this is what I was supposed to be. I listen, I should have known it was bad because the moment I stepped into the hospital and the smell alone just, is there anybody else like that can't take the smell of hospitals? I don't know what it is. And then me, I'm too visual. And I'm thinking like people died at the hospital. I don't know. Okay, is it not just thank you so much for your honesty. Like, I don't know what it is. What did the young kids say? I was tweaking. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But like I was tripping out on it. I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do this. And then they put me in the physical therapy clinic. And they started telling me that I thought I was safe, you guys. I was like, okay, physical therapy. I'm thinking about sports injuries, these things. I'm not even going to tell you what they told me because I don't want you to be traumatized. But they're like, no, these are the type of patients you're going to see. Man, I ran out of there so quick. I ran out of there so quick. I was like, okay, I'm going into computers, right? I didn't know myself. I didn't know anything about who I was or what I wanted to do. The only thing I knew I liked doing is learning. I love to learn. I would take my textbooks. We didn't have digital stuff back in those days. And I would take big old textbooks out to train. And when I trained in Germany and Georgia, excuse me, that was my first duty station. So it was infantry. Anybody knows anything about military, you have duty stations that are light work, and then you have duty stations which you're training 24/7 because if you get called up to do some type of incident, that location is going first. And so that was my first duty station. So we trained hard, but I would carry my little textbooks in my duffel bags out in the woods when we had time off. I had my little flashlight reading. I was such a nerd. But that later parlayed into me being an educator. I had no idea. If anybody would tell me, oh, Cynthia, you'll be teaching, I'm like, man, get out of here. And so now I do, I teach federal government employees. I've trained state, local officials, and I don't know, I guess I'm just decent at it, but it was because it's part of who I am. It's innate in me, it's part of my abilities. And so when you take these tests, they help you to figure that out. Some of us know it already. Some of us don't. What is your ability? What is your ability to master a skill is part of your ability and your aptitude for something. Maybe you have an aptitude for math, for example. I have an aptitude for math. I don't know why, not all math, but I love numbers. I love knowing how they work. I love being around economics and things like that. Your personality is also going to play a big role in your business. Do you know yourself? Like, why even get on your nerves and other people's nerves doing something that doesn't work for you? I am not the type of person where I can be around people every day. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It ain't me. I do it fine. Like you would never know. They're like, oh my goodness, Miss Taylor has such a big personality. But I'm an introvert. Any introverts out there? I know myself. We are always happy around people. Louis, tell the people know. We always seem very happy around people, but you probably won't hear from us for another 6 months because it took too much out of us. People say, do you keep friends? The answer is no, I don't have any friends. That requires too much effort. They want to talk all the time. What is that about? Why do we talk all the time? Oh my God, it's bad. I know it's bad, but it's just my personality. And then I'll just pop up out of nowhere 2 years down the road, like, hey, y'all. They're like, get out of here. You've been missing for 2 years. But it's just my personality. Like, I know it. I have to suffer through it. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Thank you for your honesty. But it does parlay into your career. That's a real thing, guys. Like, you have to know yourself. You have to know what drives you and what doesn't. I was in nonprofit for many, many years. I've done some amazing things, seen a lot of people, President Obama, all kinds of people, I worked on Broadway. I've seen a lot of stuff, guys, and I couldn't stand any of it. Like, I like doing some of it, but what do I like doing? I like being at home, doing research, writing stuff up, giving it to you, and you leaving me alone. I had to learn that about myself. It's going to be important for you to know about yourself so you do not go down the rabbit hole of doing something that you don't want to do. I'm just telling you. So this is why tests like personality tests, Myers-Briggs is one of them, helps you. Now, also very critical are your values. What do you stand for? I know me, I have a lot, I'm a very principled person. I'm a country girl, so I'm a religious person. Certain things I'm just not going to do. Certain places I'm not going to go. Certain jobs I'm not going to have. And next question, that's just who I am. You have to take that into consideration because sometimes companies may ask you to do things that you're not comfortable with. You may be in the field that may want you to do something that you're not comfortable with. How do you feel about that? So you want to really understand that about yourself, right? So that's why these skills assessments are so important. One thing that is really going to also help you do is to know what your soft skills are, and your technical skills, not from the test for the technical skills, but really helping you decide what how you're going to utilize your hard skills, which I'll tell you what those are in a minute, and your soft skills. So what do I mean by that? So let's look here at this example. Right now, if you look on the right side of the screen, we're all in a program and we're learning something technical. Are we not? You're learning welding, you're learning HVAC, you're learning electrical, you're learning how to be a VA, right? We're all learning technical skills. But no company is ran on technical skills alone. Why is that? Because every last one of you will be dealing with what? People. And so you will need some people skills, and you will also be working with people and animals, but you will be dealing with people. So you are going to need some what? Soft skills. What do those look like? Good listening, communication, flexibility, integrity, motivation. You work in the healthcare field, you better have some integrity. You can't be taking home medicine. Y'all, we see that on Lifetime movie networks all the time, right? Problem solving, being confident, teamwork, time management. You're going to be working in construction, or you're going to be working on projects. Teamwork is going to be important. Do you not think so? And these skills are just as important as your technical skills. If you've ever read a job description, if you've ever paid attention to it, they always start with technical skills followed by soft skills. Why is that? Well, number one, they wanted you to know what the technical needs are, but they're always going to follow up with some type of soft skill. And some companies have more soft skills than technical skills. They're letting you know right out the gate, this is what we expect of you. This is the type of this is the type of personality. This is the type of experience and skill set we need you to have. If they're telling you in the job description, it's important because if it's important enough for them to post, they want you to have that skill set. Even if it's as simple as the person before you didn't have it. And it was like, oh my God, we need this person to really, really have this skill set. So you need to pay attention to what they're saying, both on the technical side and the soft skill side. How many people ever paid attention to the soft skills on the job description? I think, yeah, okay. You want me to be a good communicator, yeah. And then you realize, well, you're going to be the project manager and you're going to be talking to all of our customers. You're like, man, I don't want to talk to, that would have been me. I don't want to talk to any customers. I did not read the fine print. Make sure you read the fine print, and we're going to be discussing. So in today's marketplace, you're going to need some technical skills. I don't think Has anyone, give me a thumbs up if you've seen how technology is transforming your industry. Give me a thumbs up if you've noticed. Now, some of y'all so young, you know, technology's been around since you were in the crib. So y'all like, what do you mean? Of course, technology. Back in the day, we didn't have technology, people. So, but you've seen it, right? Whether it's handheld devices you're using, different equipment you're using, calibration, especially in welding. I think welding. Any welders here? No, welding uses it a lot, and I would imagine electrical too, because of course electrical, you know, for me on the technology side, you know, IoT, the Internet of Things, there's so much that, you know, especially with electrical and IT working together, very, very heavy, right? So it is there, and probably with HVAC as well. So those things are not going to change. You know, most companies are going to want you to obviously understand technology as you're working in a business, right? It's not just I'm going to be on the road doing this work. You may have to have a laptop or an iPad. You may have to engage and write reports. They're going to expect you to know the basics. You know, like I said before, this class is done in partnerships with organizations, and these organizations have indicated what they want you to have. And my friends, they want you to know how to use computers. Any big surprise with that? They want you to know the basics, know what Google Docs is, know what Microsoft Office is, understand what social media is, whether you're doing it or not. You never know if, you know, especially if you're on the VA and working in a clinic, maybe they want you to post some, you know, weekend pet shelter you guys went to, right? So they want you to have these basic skills. You'd be surprised that people don't have these basic skills. Now, again, depending on your generation, some of you grew up with technology, not all of us did, right? So it may come as a surprise that these are the skills that they want you to have, but they do. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of these goals, because for your assignment today, you're going to be doing two things. Number one, you're going to be taking a personality test. And then the other thing you're going to be doing is creating at least 2 SMART goals. I want you to create at least 2 SMART goals. What does Ms. Taylor mean by a SMART goal? Well, I've already said to you, I want you to create a goal. Let's go back to the 2 I said. I said that I wanted to become a master electrician and start my own business So let me separate it. First goal, I want to become a master electrician. Second goal, I want to start my own business. I'll do a low voltage business, right? For the non-electrical people, that's just, you know, which is CCTVs, putting in security alarm systems and all of that. My ex-fiance family had a low voltage business. That's how I know. So in case you know. All right. So anyway, those are 2 goals, right? But I need to see if they pass the SMART test. Let's see if we can make them smart. Somehow I got muted. We're going to do this together. All right. So my first goal is to become a master electrician. Let's run it through the SMART test. You guys help me. Give me a thumbs up if I'm doing it right. So I want to become a master electrician. S stands for specific. State what you'll do. Does it have an S? I want to become a master electrician. Did I state what I want to do? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. My second goal is I want to own my own business. Is it specific? I want to own my own business. I want to own my own low voltage electrical business. Okay, I got the S down. Let's go to an M. Measurable. Provide a way to evaluate. Use a metrics or target data targets. I want to become a master electrician. Is it measurable? Yes, because I can measure it whether I become a master electrician or not, right? So certain things I'm gonna have to do, right? I.e., you know, pass the test, right? Okay, I want to start my own low voltage electrical business. Is it measurable? It's measurable. Okay, it passes the M. I got 2 down. Thank you. All right. Now, let's go to the A. Is it attainable? Stay within the scope. Consider your abilities. I'm you. Pretend I'm in the electrical program. I want to become a master electrician. Is that attainable? I'm in the electrical program. Okay, I got an A. I want to start my own low voltage electrical company. Is it attainable? Okay, all right, I'm getting there. Realistic, be practical and sensible, ensure it is logical. All right, I'm in the program. I want to become a master electrician. Is that realistic? Can I do that? All right, good. I'm not in the, okay, I can do it. I'm not in the barber program. I'm in the program, so it is realistic. What about I want to do my low voltage business? Can I do that? Is that realistic for me to do, being in your program? Oh, look at me. All right, one to go. Here we go. State when you'll get it done. Be specific on the date or time frame. Let's go back. I want to become a master electrician. Is it time bound? Uh-oh. I'm missing something. What am I missing? I didn't say when. How are you going to measure? How am I going to measure my time bound if I don't have a date? So I need to put a date on that thing, right? All right. Electrical people, let me know if I'm doing it good. I want to become a master electrician within 6 years of graduating. In 6 years, I want to become a master electrician. There it is. There it is. Now it's a SMART goal. Because what can I do? It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's time bound. Now I can hold myself accountable. Let's go to my second goal. I want to own my own low voltage electrical business after obtaining my master electrician's license within 10 years. There it is. You see what I'm doing? Now I have 2 long-term SMART goals. Now I can get to work, because now I can do what? Now I can get busy creating some short-term steps to get to those 6 years. What do I need to do in the next 6 years to ensure I can become a master electrician? What do I need to do in the next 10 years to ensure I become a low voltage business owner? And I tell you right now, part of that low voltage business owner is going to be making sure by year 6 I have my master electrician's license. See how that works? If you fail the plan, you plan to fail. Does that make more sense now? You got to plan it out, guys. It helps you pivot too, but you got to plan it out. None of this, when I grow up, I want to be happy. What is that? I just want to feed my family. Who doesn't? But you should know what you want to feed them: caviar or bologna sandwiches. What do you mean you just want to feed your family? Be specific. I want to be happy. What does that look like? You want to own horses? You want to live by the beach? Be specific. What does that mean? I want to work at a good company. What? Okay, so then what happens if somebody takes over and it becomes a bad company? There goes your plan. You can't trust companies to stay happy. You need long-term goals. So once you have your goal, it helps you to create a path. Now you can figure out, okay, I want to become a master electrician in 6 years. Now I need to say, what steps do I need to take to become a master electrician in 6 years? What kind of pathway? Does that make sense? Now I can say I can do what they have in the book, one's called a ladder, where you kind of work your way up to the top within a company. And why would you want to do that? Well, maybe I did my research, key research. We're going to be talking about that all throughout this class. And I noticed that if I stay at this company because this company has this education program. They say that if I stay for 2 years, they'll pay for me to go back to school or to pay for me to get my license. So I can stay here for 3 years and get my license, or they'll pay for me to get my license. And I only have to give them 1 extra year after I graduate. Plus, they say I start out at entry level, and then in 2 years I get a promotion, and then by year 3 I can get another promotion. So dang, I can get my paid for my school and get promotions just by working my way up at this company. Or maybe your long-term goal is to go find a company that you can stay for longevity. Some people really love that corporate, security. Maybe you want to go work for a major construction firm and you want to stay there and work your way up to what they call the C-suite, where you're kind of in charge. You're working in leadership and executive leadership. Maybe that's your goal. Maybe you're in the VA program and you want to start out as a VA, and maybe one day you want to work for, a pet hospital, but maybe you want to work in, veterinary medicine, and that's your goal. So you kind of want to stay there and work your way up. You can do that too. Figure out what you want to do. So that's a career ladder. The career lattice talks a little bit about you working your way through the system. Let's say I start down here as a VA person, and then instead of me just working as a VA, then becoming like some type of manager over VAs, I go back to school and become a VT, right? And then maybe I work my way up to management from there, running the VT, but then maybe I want to go back to school and learn some type of specialization, right? So I can take another lateral move before I move up, right? There's no right or wrong way to how you do it. You just need to know you need to have a plan. And you can't have a plan without doing your research and understanding if you go down this road, what you're going to encounter versus if you go down that road, what you're going to encounter. You don't need any surprises, right? So planning is all about mitigating surprises. That's the same thing we do in business. In business, why do you have a business plan? So you know who I want to target, how I want to target, how much money I want to target, where am I going to target? What is my mission? What is my vision? But right after that plan, you also need a strategy. We call it a strategic plan. Then that tells you, okay, what am I going to do in the next 5 years to get to this goal? Let's say I decided I want to have a low voltage electrical business, but maybe I want it to be throughout Florida. I just don't want it to be in Fort Myers, or I just don't want it to be in Tampa. I want my business to be all over. Okay, so your business plan says that you want to have a low voltage company, but you want to work throughout Florida. That means that you want to expand. So now you need a strategic plan to say, okay, what am I going to do in the first 5 years? Then what I'm going to do in the next 5 years? Maybe in the first 5 years, you say, okay, my goal is to hit the Central Florida market, right? I'm going to hit the Central Florida market. I'm going to focus in on commercial projects, working with, the airport, working with, hospitals and schools, doing low voltage, because, everybody has CCTV and everybody has security alarms. So I'm going to hit that up first. And then by year 6 or 7, I'm going to start to open up different divisions. I'm going to start hiring in the South. You see what I'm doing? That's strategic. Does that make sense? So your strategy helps the plan. Yes, very good. All right. So your, we'll talk about career portfolio. Chapter 1 touches on that, and it just talks about, as you are coming back down from this plan and talking about your first initial step out the gate from graduating, making sure that you set yourself up with some type of portfolio to say what you bring to the table. But we'll talk more about that as we get into building out our portfolio in next week. All right. So if you are going to be going to electrical, you're going to go into, owning your own business one day. Maybe you're going to be a welder or you want to specialize in certain types of HVAC. You need to also think about promoting yourself. Yesterday, I talked about networking. whether you're owning your own business or working inside a company, one, we call it entrepreneurship when you go and you run your own business. But if you're going to be working inside a company and working your way up to the top, we call that intrapreneurship. You still need to have a preneurship mindset, right? Anybody that works their way up, you got to have an aggressive mindset. And this is where I'm trying to go. You have to have that career progression mindset. So with that in mind, you also need to start to think about, who am I? What do I bring to the table? How am I going to promote myself? They said that this famous rapper called Jay-Z used to say, he's not a businessman, he's the business man. What does that mean? Now, I don't listen to rap, so I know that was corny, but I used the line. That means that you are the business. What do you mean? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, the young people are like, what? What does that mean? That means that you are not selling a product, but what are you selling? What are you selling, my friends? You're selling a service. You are selling a service, are you not? When you go to a company, do they not have you sign a contract saying that for your services, they are going to provide you with ABC? You don't own that company. You are contracted to that company to provide a service. So that means that you are a service, man. You are the service. You have to start promoting yourself. You are not somebody's employee. You are providing a service to this institution. So you need to start to think about, what type of persona do I want to have? You want to get to the place to where people start to seek you out. In today's society with technology all over the place, you want people seeking out your services. We're going to talk about how to promote yourself on social media and use different platforms. I'm not talking about, that private social media stuff. I'm talking about professional sites like LinkedIn and things of that nature, and how you're going to use that to start to promote yourself. I want you to start thinking about, what is my career persona going to be? Do I want to be the subject matter expert in welding? Do I want to be the person that, everybody, because once you get into your industry, the world gets smaller. There's only so many people in the veterinary field in Florida. And if you stick around long enough, everybody's going to know everybody. What do you want the industry saying about you? Do you want to be the go-to guy? Do you want to be that person that said, oh yeah, so-and-so, he knows everything about electrical, man. He knows all the new trends. He knows what the contractors who's coming up. I want that guy on my team. You're not always going to be the entry-level guy. One day you're going to be that guy, that girl, that person. What do you want that to be about you? What do you want your reputation to be? You need to start to think about that so you can start becoming an expert in that field. All right, my friends. So what are you doing today? Here's your 2 assignments. Number 1, you're going to be doing a personality test. After you do the personality test, there's a little link you can click when you go to that assignment. You're going to come back and you're going to tell me what your results were, right? Include the type that you scored and if you think it's accurate, right? So tell me, give me one little paragraph is good enough. Here's my results. They said I was an ABCD. This is what that means. Here's how I feel about it. Your second assignment is coming up with your long-term goals. All I want today, make sure that you read the assignment. It is a 3-part series, but today I just want 2 long-term goals. Please not tell me you want to make money and you want to be happy, because I'm going to send it back to you and tell you take that to the altar. I need to know what you want to do and your career. And I say that not to be funny, but the book talks about basic stuff. I want to, save more money. Those are nice examples, but this is a career class. I want your career goals. All right? Any questions on that before we get to the participation question for the day? All right, my friends, here's your participation question for the day. I want you to list 3 top hard skills unique to your career. 3 hard skills unique to your career. And 3 soft skills transferable to most careers. Your 3. Do not just list the ones for your career, but the ones you specifically have as it relates to soft skills. The technical skills you may not have so much. You can talk about 3 that you're currently learning. But with those soft skills, some of us already have it. Some of us have it because we've been in the industry. It's part of our personality, right? Give me 3 hard, give me 3 soft. That's your participation question for today. Remember, my friends, it must be turned in by 12:30. The 2 assignments, you have until Sunday to get it done, but I recommend that you get it done sooner than later. Do we have any questions? All right, my friends, if we don't have any questions, we can go ahead and stop the recording. This will be posted